Hello. You are here right now. You have done enough. You need to relax. To understand the Philippines, one must understand Jose Rizal. He was a man who wielded a pen, not a sword, yet his words ignited a revolution. This is not just the story of a national hero, but of a mind that dreamed a nation into being. Episode 1: Seeds of Discontent. We begin in Calamba, Laguna, in the heart of the fertile lands owned by the Dominican friars. Here, a young boy named Jose, or Pepe, grows up in a prosperous, educated Filipino-Chinese family. His mother, Teodora Alonzo, is his first teacher, nurturing a brilliant and inquisitive mind. But this idyllic childhood is framed by a harsh reality. The script shows the invisible wall that separates the Indio family from the Spanish friars who rule the town. We see the young Rizal witness the petty abuses, the arrogance of power. A pivotal moment. His mother is unjustly imprisoned over a false accusation. The boy sees firsthand how the law bends against his own. This early brush with injustice plants a seed. It is a quiet, personal lesson in the fragility of Filipino dignity under Spanish rule. The episode establishes the central conflict of Rizal's life, the clash between the potential of his people and the system designed to keep them subservient. Episode 2: The Education of a Prophet. The young man's intellect cannot be contained. He is sent to Manila to study. At the Ateneo, he excels, becoming the best in his class. He learns discipline, the classics, and the power of excellence as a form of defiance. Later, at the University of Santo Tomas, he studies medicine, but the air is thick with discrimination. Filipino students, no matter how brilliant, are treated as second class. The solution? Escape. To go to the very source of the power that binds his country, Spain. In 1882, Rizal secretly departs. The journey to Barcelona and then to Madrid is a revelation. Here, he is not just an Indio, he is a foreign student, a man of intellect who can debate equals. He studies not just medicine, but philosophy, history, and the liberal ideas sweeping Europe. He earns a second doctorate. But his education is not for personal glory. Every lesson, every book is filtered through one burning question. Why is my country, on the other side of the world, not free? Episode 3: The Pen Awakens. The propaganda movement is born. Filipino ilustrados in Europe, including Rizal, begin to agitate for reform. Their weapon? The printing press. Their demand? Equality, representation, the basic rights of Spanish citizens for Filipinos. Rizal's first major salvo is not a political essay, but a novel. In 1887, he publishes Noli me Tangere, Touch Me Not, in Berlin, a feat of sheer will and poverty. He nearly starves to finish it. The novel is a thunderclap. It is not a dry treatise. It is a living, breathing, and scathing portrait of Philippine society under the friars. Through characters like the idealistic Crisostomo Ibarra, the vengeful Elias, and the sinister Padre Damaso, Rizal holds up a mirror. He exposes the cancer of corruption, the hypocrisy of the clergy, and the suffering of the people. The book is immediately banned in the Philippines, but smuggled copies are read in secret, passed from hand to hand. For the first time, Filipinos see their own pain and aspiration reflected in literature. The sleeping conscience of a people begins to stir. Episode 4: Exile and Enlightenment. The Noli makes Rizal a target. Returning to the Philippines is dangerous. After a brief, tense visit to his family, he leaves again, this time for a voluntary exile to hone his ideas.
He travels to Hong Kong, Japan, the United States, and finally settles in Europe. This period solidifies Rizal not just as a critic, but as a nation builder. In London, he annotates Morgas Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, painstakingly recovering the pre-colonial history of his people, proving they had a rich civilization before Spain. In Paris, he finishes his second novel, El Filibusterismo, The Reign of Greed, published in 1891. It is darker, more radical. If the Noli asked for reform, the Fili explores the terrifying possibility of revolution. The idealistic Ibarra returns as the vengeful Simón. The question hangs in the air. If peaceful appeals for justice are crushed, what path remains? Episode 5. The Practical Dreamer. Rizal was never just a man of letters. This episode explores his astonishingly diverse mind. We delve into his scientific work as an ophthalmologist. He restored his mother's sight. We see his sketches and sculptures, showcasing a masterful artist. We examine his projects for social reform, his plans for a Filipino school in Hong Kong, his design for a water system, his writings on agriculture and language. He was a Renaissance man who believed freedom required a capable and enlightened people. He founded La Liga Filipina in 1892 upon his return to Manila. Its goal was moderate, to unite the archipelago into one compact body for mutual protection and reform through legal means. It was his last, desperate attempt to create a platform for peaceful change. But the Spanish authorities saw only sedition. Just days after its founding, Rizal was arrested. Episode 6. The Prisoner of Fort Santiago. Rizal's dream of peaceful reform shatters. He is declared an enemy of the state and exiled to the remote town of Dapitan in Mindanao. For 4 years, this is his world. But Rizal does not languish. He transforms his exile into a microcosm of his ideals. He builds a school, a hospital, a water system. He practices medicine, studies local flora and fauna, and engages in scientific correspondence with scholars in Europe. Dapitan is a paradox. It is both a cage and a canvas. Here, Rizal proves what a Filipino, even in captivity, can achieve through intelligence, industry, and compassion. He falls in love with Josephine Bracken. He wins the lottery and uses the money to develop land. This period reveals the core of his philosophy. True patriotism is building your nation, person by person, community by community, starting from the ground up.
Episode 7. The Fateful Choice. The outside world encroaches. The Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society led by Andres Bonifacio, is plotting armed revolt. They see Rizal as their natural leader. Emissaries are sent to Dapitan to convince him to escape and lead the revolution. Rizal makes a fateful and controversial refusal. He condemns the uprising as premature, ill-prepared, and doomed to fail. He believes in education and reform first. This decision has haunted his legacy. Was he a coward, a man of prudence, a bourgeois intellectual afraid of the masses' violence? The script explores this complexity. His refusal is not the end of his involvement. He volunteers to serve as a doctor in Cuba, another Spanish colony facing revolution, hoping to distance himself from the coming storm. It is on this journey that his fate catches up to him. Episode 8. The Trial. On the way to Cuba, Rizal is arrested. Returned to Manila, he is imprisoned in Fort Santiago, the very fort that once guarded Spanish power. The trial is a sham. He is charged with sedition, rebellion, and forming illegal associations. The evidence is flimsy. His writings, his associations, the fact that the revolutionaries used his name.
Rizal defends himself with cool intellect. He argues he never advocated for violent revolution, only for reform and justice. He points to his writings, his conduct in Dapitan, but the verdict is predetermined. He is found guilty and sentenced to death by firing squad. The Spanish authorities believe that by eliminating the thinker, they will kill the thought. They are about to make their greatest mistake. Episode 9, Último Adiós. The Final Hours. Rizal writes letters to his family and his final masterpiece, the untitled poem now known as Mi Último Adiós, My Last Farewell. Hidden in an oil lamp, it is a poem of serene love, not bitter hatred. He offers his life willingly for his country. On the morning of December 30th, 1896, at Bagumbayan field, he walks calmly to the execution site. He requests to face the firing squad, but is denied, shot in the back as a traitor. With a supreme effort, he twists his body to fall facing the rising sun. The shot that kills Rizal does not silence him. It amplifies his voice a millionfold. The martyrdom transforms the reformist into the ultimate symbol of resistance. The man who opposed a premature revolution becomes the very spark that makes the revolution inevitable. Bonifacio and the Katipunan use his death as the final call to arms. Episode 10, The Immortal Idea. Rizal is dead, but what is his true legacy? The Philippine Revolution erupts. The Americans arrive. The nation gains a form of independence, but the struggle for its soul continues. This final episode examines the contested legacy of Rizal. Some see him as a pacifist, others as an incipient revolutionary. He is claimed by the left and the right. His ideas on education, national identity, and civic virtue are dissected. We see his face on the peso, his monuments in every town. But beyond the icon, what remains is the living idea he championed, the idea of the Filipino as a capable, dignified people, worthy of freedom and masters of their own destiny. He did not give the nation its independence, but he gave it something more fundamental, a conscience, an identity, and an unwavering belief in its own worth. Jose Rizal, the man who died for a nation that did not yet exist, remains its first and most enduring Filipino.